Hello, Yawning Angel here again with another video, and this one's going to be slightly different to my usual videos because we're going to be taking a look at this magazine, Sinclair Programs magazine from October 1984. Oh, hello, future Yawning Angel here. Can I ask you to keep watching till the end of the video because I'd like your help with something. I have a bit of an appeal and I'd really appreciate your input. Thank you. And what I'm going to be doing is taking a program listing from here, going to be entering it in on the 48K Spectrum Plus, get it running, then we're going to dump it over to the Plus 2 just so I can get some decent screen capture of that running, and then I'm going to convert it to running AMOS Professional on the Amiga. How much fun is that? But before we dive into all of this, let me elaborate a little bit more and tell you why. So a bit of history about this magazine. This copy of Sinclair Programs I have had in my possession since October 1984. And despite countless house moves, both nationally and internationally, it's managed to stay in my possession. I really am not sure how because I've never paid it any special attention, but here we are. Out of all the magazines I had from back in the day, this is the only magazine to survive. Strange that, isn't it? For those of you unfamiliar with Sinclair Programs magazine, effectively this was a monthly magazine which came out and readers submitted type-in program listings of games which they'd created for you to type in on your Spectrums and try and get working. Well, this catered for Spectrum and ZX81 as well. Some of the program listings were great and they worked first time, others didn't. So you'd spend an age typing them in and you wouldn't bother saving them because why would you? You just wanted to see this game run. You'd hit run and then watch your Spectrum reset itself, so you'd have to start all over again. It was all part of the fun back in the day, and you kids today don't know that you've got it so easy. Anyway, there's one particular program in here which I did key into my Spectrum, my then 16K Spectrum back in the day. And that's this listing, a program called 3D Wall, and this was written, well rather submitted, by a young lad called Philip Laughlin, who was 13 at the time, so that'll make him about 56 now, I reckon. He was from Rotherham in South Yorkshire. So if anyone knows Philip Laughlin from Rotherham in South Yorkshire, or indeed Philip, you are watching this video, please get in touch and let me know. It would be great to catch up. So this program listing, relatively simple. And it's a game where a number of obstacles are placed on the screen and you have a wall which is being built down the screen and you have to stop it from crashing into the obstacles by moving it left and right. Really simple stuff, which is probably why back in the day I keyed this one in. I definitely did it because I put a little green tick next to it, so I obviously had it working. So what I thought would be fun to do is to re-key this into a Spectrum now. So that's why we're going to key it into the Spectrum 48K because, and I know what you're thinking, why don't you do it on the Plus 2, Yawning Angel? Well, I can, but where's the fun in that? Where's the nostalgia hit? I want to type this in 48K basic. I need to know where all the keywords are on the keyboard because that's part of the experience. That is part of the thrill. So we're going to get it keyed in there and get it working. With it working on there, I will then transfer it to the Plus 2 so I can get some decent screen capture of it because I don't have any decent screen capture for the Spectrum 48K Plus. So we're just going to be a bit Heath Robinson on that front, bear with me. But we'll get it over onto the Spectrum Plus 2 eventually and see it working in all its glory. But before we do that, let's have a deeper overview of this magazine. So this is Sinclair Programs magazine in all its glory from October 1984. Look, we can win a QL. There's a competition to win one. That's got to be worth entering. Here we are, contents page, inside front cover advert. Lots of adverts in here. Check this one out. Upgrade your 16K Spectrum now with a RAM pack. Only $39.95. Bargain. Here's an advert for a ZX81 keyboard. I think these are one of the ones that would stick over the existing keyboard. Only a tenner, that's not bad. And as you can see, the magazine's got lots of listings and the artwork that was provided for them is fantastic. Really enjoyable to look through this. And it is the artwork that really captures your imagination and makes you want to type in some of the programs. Advert here for a ZX81 game, Rocket Man. high-res graphics on a standard ZX81. Oh look, here's the competition to win a QL. This looks good. And there's runner-up prizes as well. Look at this. So how do we enter? So there's 6 features of the QL computer here. Which one's the most important? So large memory, 32-bit processor, professional keyboard. Sorry, try not to laugh. But you know, it's got to be worth a stab. You know, enter it and let's see what happens. The DK-Tronics keyboard for the Spectrum. I always lusted after one of these, but never got round to getting one. Although I'm not sure I want one now, to be honest. 3D Wall. This is the program that we're going to be keying in. This little 16K program here. Nice piece of artwork on that. I think that might have appealed to me as well back in the day and made me want to type it in. It looked interesting. A letters page as well, and some reviews of some new games out. Quite interesting. Programming tutorials there, how to use numbers in BASIC, some mathematical stuff. I've got to put my hands up here and say I never read these back in the day. It was too complex. I'd rather just type in the program listings. Reviews here on some games again, more adverts. More program listings with that fantastic artwork as well. Just makes you think, oh, this looks good. Look at this ZX81 program listing here. You can see where the graphics are actually defined within the program code. No user defined graphics here. Looks like Jump Buggy I might have tried to key in as well, because I've drawn some lines here, obviously showing my progress, and I've made some changes in the code as well, so perhaps that didn't work at the time and I tried to get it working. Might be worth trying that next, a future video. What do you think? Oh, look at this. Sneak into a mainframe with your Spectrum. And what is this kit that kid's got underneath his Spectrum? And look at the size of that TV. It's massive. That's got to be big telly, hasn't it? And this does indeed look quite interesting. So this is all about the Prism VTX 5000 modem and giving you access to Prestel on your ZX Spectrum. You get a year's subscription worth £20, 1 year's free subscription to Micronet worth £32. There's loads of stuff going on here. Oh, look at this advert here. I used to love the graphics or the artwork, sorry, on this advert. Absolutely fantastic. And I really wish that somebody would recreate it today. Does anyone know anyone who might be able to do that? Look at this, programmable interface 2, ROM slot, joysticks here as well, $10.95 for a Quick Shot 2. That looks interesting. Do you think it's worth it? I broke so many of those joysticks back in the day. Daily Thompson's Decathlon. More program listings, some short ones, some very long ones. Lots more stuff here. Look at this, an advert for Blockbuster game from the TV series. I've got a version of that on tape. Kura speech synthesizer. That looks interesting. Did anybody have one of those? I never did. Never interested me. But look at this. 50 games on one cassette. Only $9.95. That's got to be worth it, hasn't it? Come on. Somebody must have sent off for that. 50 games across loads of different computers. And that is it. This is the code listing which I scanned in and then used OCR software to dump it out onto a document which I printed, and it made it easier to read and analyze the code. Also, it meant I wasn't risking damaging the magazine by typing the listing in from there. You can also see here there's some scribblings because I had to do some calculations on here trying to figure out what variables were doing, what some of these values meant. This was for when I converted it into AMOS on the Amiga because some of the calculations didn't quite work and I needed to convert things. But we will come on to that later when you see me do the AMOS version. So I did record quite a bit of footage of me keying the program into the Spectrum 48K, but looking back on it and reviewing that footage, it was a long, slow process filmed over a few evenings, so I've elected not to include it all. I had problems trying to figure out sometimes where the keywords were, trying to find them on the keyboard, trying to figure out what mode I needed to be in order to get those keywords to appear. Did I need to be in extended mode? Did I just need to press shift? Did I need to press the symbol shift button? All of these things proved to be quite an exciting challenge. And I will say, if you've not coded in Spectrum Basic before on an original Spectrum, it's quite easy to forget where everything is. I had trouble trying to find in key string most of the time. That was my nemesis. Also trying to find things like and at, trying to remember what mode I needed to be in, as I said, to get those keywords to appear. Also, notwithstanding the challenge of using the 48K Plus keyboard, which is not designed for speed typing. So it was a very slow, steady, plodding process to do this. But, I enjoyed it. I got some fun out of it. I could say, yes, I could have elected to key this in using 128 BASIC on my Spectrum Plus 2, but as I said before, where's the fun in that? I really wanted to do this old school and key it in using, original Spectrum BASIC on 48K. As a result of all of this, I'm going to speed up a lot of this footage because you don't need to see a grown man struggle or a grown man cry when he can't find very simple keywords on a keyboard which is right in front of him.
Okay, 21, interesting, plot, 0, 0, draw, 0, 175, plot, 255, 0, draw, 175, no, draw 0, 0, 175, okay, 26, if, extended pinky string, oops, no, equals p and where's and point.
Here is a prime example of me struggling to find a keyword. In this instance, the keyword was point. I looked long and hard all along the keyboard for this, struggling to find it, when if I just looked in the manual, it would have told me that the location for this was extended mode and then symbol shift 8. But when you're confronted by a lot of keywords on a lot of keys, sometimes they all blur together and it's a struggle to actually find the one you're looking for. But I got there eventually, I think. Yay!
If point only brackets s plus 1, a equals 1, then cls print at 10, 2, semicolon.
Of course, I needed to save the program, and I did this by saving it to SD card on the div MMC Future. To do this, I would navigate to a folder where I had my tap image, and it was a case of just changing directory to that folder. In there, I've got a tap image called 3dwall.tap. I then needed to tell the Spectrum that that's the output file that I was going to write to. So I told it .tape out 3dwall.tap. And after that, I could just type in my save command, give it a program name. In this instance, I called it 3dwall-a. And then I could just save as normal, press enter, and the Spectrum would go through its start tape, then press any key routine, save the file to the SD card, and it was done. Okay, so from the other evening I saved off some code, so I should have that saved on the div MMC Future, and let's go into that quickly. Big shout out to the div MMC Future. There are lots of div MMC options available, but the div MMC Future from the future was 8-bit. Great piece of kit, love it to bits. Right, so I need to cd into my code directory, list that. So I've got a tap image on here. So let's do tape in 3dwall.tap. Now I need to load the program code that I saved. No, that's the wrong one, Yawning Angel. It's this one. A. I've got a lot of versions of this on here because I've been doing lots of testing. So, but this is the one we're playing with. So let's load that. There's the code. So that's as far as I got. I got as far as line 26. I keep a note of all the saves I do on the div MMC because I need to. Right. So we got to line 26. So let's do line 27 then. Let's carry on coding. Carry on coding. Did they ever release that film? That would have been great, wouldn't it? Oh, matron. So let's go. I need if. Here we go again. Now I need to find in key string. A few days away from this and I've forgotten where everything is. So where's my in key string? In key string. No, seriously, where's my in key string gone? Extended mode. Nope, that's not it. Nope, that's not it. Extended mode. Finally, if so, what we've done, 26 was P, so 27 is O. Nope, not that. Extended mode. In key string equals. This one's strange. In key string equals nothing. So if you haven't pressed anything, then I want and where's CLS? Go to 1000. Hooray! Right, we've got all the code in. So here we are. If we have a close look at that screen, so line 1000, which is where we have a lot of go-to statements taking us to, is just clearing the screen. It's kind of printing like an intro. So should be quite straightforward, hopefully. We've got all the print statements in there, kind of the instructions for the game. Anyway, let's run this. I have saved it already. Do not fear. Okay, so now I'm going to hit run. And whoa, look at that screen. So my 48K Spectrum Plus has had the composite mod done. For those who haven't been following or keeping up this year, this is the Spectrum Plus, which More Fun Making It Lee obtained for me and did all the mods and sorted it out for me. And it's great. It's a lovely little machine. I love it to bits. Brilliant. So once again, thank you, Lee. It's all good. Right, so here is the program. It's there. So we have to build a wall down to the bottom where you will build another wall at the top. Use keys O left, P right. But beware, do not bump into old walls or poles, as this will end the game. Use S to pause. So there we go. So I'm going to run this on here. It's going to look a bit janky because of the screen and video capture and all that stuff. But I'm going to transfer it to the +2 and we'll see it running properly on there. But let's just make sure this runs. So let's see what happens. So I'm going to press a key and we've got some walls being built. These populate the screen. And then what happens is a wall starts to appear. There it is there. So that's the wall that's being built. So if I don't do anything, it's just going straight down. And I've got to go left and right to stop it, to kind of steer it round. So, and that's not a feast for the eyes, is it? That is quite, I do apologise. You've just got to get it to the bottom without it hitting anything. So this is quite an easy path through. And I'll get to the bottom. I don't even have to do anything because that's going to hit the bottom. And there we go. So we're going to make it to level 2. We scored 186. How far across to build your next wall? So now we get to choose how far we want to build the next wall. So I'm going to try and go across over here. So if that was 100, I'm going to do 150. And there goes our next wall. And we need to move it so it doesn't actually crash into anything. But this is working. And you know, I remember this from back in the day. Oh, hang on, I've gone wrong here. Can I? Well, let me just hit something. I hit a wall. And then it takes you back to the start screen, shows you what your previous score was and how far you got. And off you go again. Let's get this onto the +2 so we can see it properly. Right, so now the file has been transferred from the ZX Spectrum Plus 48K is now on the Spectrum Plus 2. I've now got decent video capture going through the OSSC, so now you're going to be able to see this in all its high definition glory. So let's see where we are. So let's look at the card on here. CD code, let's load it in. List that right now. tape. Oh, it's so much better to be using a decent keyboard. I love the Spectrum Plus, but seriously, the keyboard. 3dwall.tup. That's the best thing about the Plus 2 is the keyboard and the built-in tape deck, of course. Right, now load. So my finished version, slightly different. So this one is called 3D Wall 5, because this is one I prepared earlier. And we'll load it in. And here's the code in all its glory. And you can see it now, all those lovely statements. Look at those big chunky statements. Code all over the screen. It's so difficult to follow, especially when I keep moving the cursor through it. It's there. Obviously the code for this will appear on my website in the download section. That will be referenced in the notes below. Let's run this bad boy. That's a much better screen, isn't it? So there we go, similar to what you saw earlier on the Spectrum Plus. So let me turn up some sound on the TV and let's start this running. Here we go. And let's go this way. On the face of it, this might look a little bit boring, but you know what? It's actually quite therapeutic. Yep, that's good. I think I've got this one in the bag. As soon as it hits the bottom line, that's it, you've succeeded. There we go. Right, so let's go 10 across this time. Ooh. It is quite rapid, which is good. Oh, I think I've messed this one up. No, can we get through there? Ah, no. Yeah, okay. One more go. And it is a bit of a one more go game. Here we go again. I'm going to press S. So that pauses it. So the S does work. But you've got to hold down S to keep it paused. So when I move this to the Amiga version, I'm going to have it so when you press S, you can just press and let go, and it keeps it paused. Yeah, this is going to be an easy run. Yay, and we're done. So with this program running on the Spectrum Plus 2 now in 48K mode, this is as per the original listing. I have not changed it at all. What I'm going to do is convert it to run in AMOS Pro on the Amiga. So I'm going to code it in AMOS Pro. I'm going to make use of some of the AMOS Pro functionality. So the code structure is going to be a little bit different. Obviously things like goto statements will be right out the window. We don't use goto anymore. I'm going to be using procedural calls. That might make things a little bit slicker and a little bit easier to manage. Will it look exactly the same? I'll try and get it to look exactly the same, but there might be some slight nuances, some slight tweaks and changes that I do. But in all intents and purposes, I plan for this to be exactly the same program, but running on the Amiga under AMOS. It's going to be a lot of fun. So let's get a cup of tea and let's crack on. Okay, a few days have passed and the Amiga version of 3D Wall has been written in AMOS Pro. I have done this. Now, I was going to take you through step by step each line of code, but I encountered a few issues, and as such I had to just basically bring the program together to get it done. And what I thought we'd do is go through the code together, and you can see some of the fundamental changes I've made to the code structure in order to get it run on the Amiga. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a bit of a challenge, and there was one area in particular which tripped me up, and we'll talk about that now. I needed to understand how the screens were constructed, so I mapped out the Spectrum screen, and this helped me to understand where it was plotting the walls that you would crash into and drawing them into, so that whole space. Also the space at the top where you start building your wall from. Also noting the Spectrum screen coordinates start at 0, 0 in the bottom left-hand corner. This is important to know because the Amiga start position at 0,0 is in the top left-hand corner, not the bottom. Anyway, I mapped this out for a 320 by 200 screen, which is what I was originally going to do, although I then eventually went with the 640 high-resolution screen. But it enabled me to work out where the plot positions would be, where the draw positions would go into, and where I would need to start building my wall from and to on that screen estate. So with that explained, let's dive into the code and take a look and see how I did it. But before we do that, I'm going to get a cup of tea. Right, so I've got a cup of tea. Oh, that's good. Just need to adjust the chair. Right, here we are in the code. So, I want to say, first of all, this code will be available for download from my website. There'll be a link in the description notes down below, or if you know where my downloads page is, it's in the usual place. So let's take a look. What have I done? Yawning Angel, what have you done to get this program working? So there are some key differences in the AMOS versus the Spectrum version. First of all, I'm using procedures over goto statements, obviously. In terms of keys O and P controlled your left and right movements, I've had to make use of the clear key command to stop buffering, because on the Spectrum it wasn't so much of an issue, but on the Amiga, if you hold down O or P, it builds up quite a buffer and it's very difficult to control. So clear key clears that buffer after each key press, and it actually gives you a lot more control. So that was a bit of a learning experience. I've made use, in terms of for sound, I've used the bell sample and the play command for noise over beeps, obviously, because I don't have beeps in AMOS. Obviously handling the cursor and mouse removal just to tidy the screen up, because obviously on the Spectrum that wasn't an issue, and handling the inverse screen over the Spectrum screen, and I covered that in my little piece earlier on. So let's go through the code then. So what did I do? So first of all, define the screen. So I went with a high-res screen. I could have stuck with low-res, but I kind of work in high-res. So I did a 640 by 216 color screen, set the background color to green, cleared everything, set up some global variables. So the variables we had for the level, the score, your coordinates on the screen, I defined them as global because I'm using procedures. They needed to be global variables. I've initialized some stuff. So this was obviously also done in the Spectrum Basic version, setting the score, the level number, various things, they have been set. And then I kind of go into the program flow. So the first thing I do is go to an initialize procedure. So let's dive down to that. Let's find my initialize. Here we go. Initialization and setup. So this was pretty much what the Spectrum version was doing. When it said go to line 1000, this is my equivalent. It gives you, some basic instructions on how to play the game. Press a key to start, then wait for a key to be pressed, clear the screen. And then I go into a procedure called place walls. Walls, obstacles, call them what you like. But this does exactly that. It places your obstructions on the screen. And place walls is this procedure here. Straightforward, cursor off, hide it, set the ink to 7 and place 100 walls. So for f equals 0 to 100. Set the screen coordinates, H and J, which are equivalent Y and X coordinates, the boundaries of which that will actually draw the diagonal lines, which are your obstacles. Had to do some compensation here, adding 35 pixels on to compensate for the screen orientation, because on the Spectrum it was one way and on the Amiga it's another, so that dealt with that. Did the plotting and then did the drawing. Slightly different, because obviously on the Spectrum you just do the draw, but in AMOS I need to do the draw from and to positions. So that is done that, and it's done here at a J plus 10 and H minus 10 to give you the diagonal. I've got some debug code in here as well, because you'll find this code is littered with debug statements because I needed to know what was going on. Then between each wall, wait 5, because otherwise they all appear on the screen at once. So wait 5. And I use the shoot sound effect built into AMOS to get the da 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 as the walls are going up on the screen. And then effectively change the color of the ink. I do a draw here. This is just drawing a line down the bottom of the screen. Then I reset to the ink color, and that's the end of that procedure. Right, so then we go back to our initialize. So I called the place walls there. Then it's a more basic setup, which is exactly the same as the Spectrum version. Just defining where we're going to start. Set our coordinates for our start wall. S would be 100. That's where the wall that goes down the screen is going to start. And then I set a Y coordinate. I'm starting at 15 there. It's all quite self-explanatory when you get into it and start messing around. Right, so that is the initialization of the program. So before I move on, let's see what that does. So let's press F1, and here we go. So let me just check I've got my sound up. Very, very basic. Okay, so my purpose for this was just to convert as is and not Amigafy the program in any way. So here we've got some instructions: S to pause, O to go left, P to go right, build a wall, blah, blah, blah. Press a key to start. So if I hit this now, right, I'm going to stop the program there. So as you can see, we're still within the confines of the Spectrum screen. So it's compressed in a bit, but you know what? I don't mind, because I know I'm going to modify this at a future date. The purpose was to get this program from the Spectrum onto the Amiga as is, and here we are. So we've got our lines and everything drawn there on the screen. So let's go back up here now and see the next bit of the code. So we did the initialize, which you've just seen there, and then it jumped straight into a procedure called main game. The main game loop, let's bring that up. Right, main game. So I put a border around the playing area. So using the box command here, on the Spectrum version, it just draws some lines, that's fine. Then I've got a do loop. So set screen state, so at the top of the screen, print what level we're on, what score we've got. Got some debug code in here. I might remove the debug code before I release this code. We'll see. So the next thing to do then is to position and draw our player wall. So ink 0, so that's going to be black. And then I plot the coordinates and then draw our line. So this is our kind of line at a 45-degree angle, which is going to be our wall that goes down the screen. Set up a game control string here. So GC string is whatever Inky string is. And then we start to look at what keys are being pressed on the keyboard. The first one here, we're checking for S. Has the game been paused? So that's our pause control there. And if it is, then we just wait until a key is pressed after pressing S. More debug code, I might remove that. Now, movement control and collision detection. So moving right. So if they press P and we're within the boundaries of the screen, here's our clear key command. So what AMOS is doing here, it's like key P has been pressed, key P has been pressed, key P has been pressed, rather than key P has been pressed, I'm just going to keep buffering it until you let go. It's basically clearing out after we've pressed P, it clears it out and waits for that to be pressed again. So we can hold it down and let go of it, and it responds to our actual key presses, rather than building up a buffer and just keeping the wall going in the wrong direction. Here's the first use of the bell command. So I'm using bell, which is a built-in sample for AMOS. So what I could do here is, let's do bell 30. That's bell 30, bell 50, and we went bell 15. There we go, that's what we're doing. So bell 15 and we wait 5. Okay, so that just slows things down a bit. Don't forget, we're running a program which was designed for a 16K ZX Spectrum. We're now running it on an Amiga A1200. Slightly different processing speeds. We need to slow things down a bit, so there's some wait statements littered around in here. We then do the usual thing. We increase various values. We increase our score. Then we do our collision detection, which is using the point command, which is what the basic version uses as well. The Spectrum basic version uses as well. Nothing different here, basically. Once again, remembering those coordinates and how we had to reverse our screen understanding for this. So some of those changes are reflected in our collision detection. That's P. Then we do exactly the same for O. Do the clear. Bell 10 this time, slightly different bell noise, just so we get an audio cue as to which way we're going. Once again, we do the increasing of variables, we do our collision detection. Something I forgot to mention up here, if there is a collision detection, it goes to a procedure called game over and passes in a parameter side, and it will also pass in a parameter called wall. I'm not 100% happy with this, and I think I need to change that, but we'll have a look at the game over procedure in a moment. Normal movement of the wall down the screen, so this is just the game running itself. So if no key has been pressed, and once again we're within the confines of the screen, bell 8 this time, that's the noise that the computer player is almost going to make as the ball goes down the screen, and we do a wait 8 as well, increase variable values, and detect for color 7, the color of walls being hit. So if we get to the bottom of the screen, no, if we get to the bottom, if we hit any of the other walls on the screen, so the side walls, then we'll call the game over procedure and we pass the value wall because that will give us a different message. Get to the bottom of the screen, okay, check for the color of red because I put a red bar at the bottom of the screen. So we're using the point collision detection here. If we've hit something that's red, bang, you have succeeded, and we go to the level success procedure, which is great. And this is it, this is level success. So if we are, we've completed it, so we clear the screen. This is the first difference between the Spectrum version and the Amiga version. We're clearing the screen, we increment our levels, we print the scores on the screen, we ask for the coordinates for how far to start to the next level, how far you want to build across. We reset everything, we call our place walls procedure, and we then dive into our main game procedure. On the Spectrum version, when we got to the bottom, it didn't clear the screen, it left our original wall in place, and we carried on from there. This, in the Amiga version, I've got it clearing all that out, and we start again. Let's have a nosy at our game over procedure, and that will be this. So, game over. We accept a value called cause, which comes in. So if the cause is wall, then it's hard luck you hit a wall. If it's side, hard luck you hit the side. And we then actually stop and we ask someone to press, the user to press C in order to go again. If they press C, the program is initialized from scratch and we run the main game procedure. This is fairly straightforward. So it's not an identical version of the Spectrum version. We've changed some of the way it handles things. So we have a fresh screen each time, but it maintains our score as we go through if we are completing it. So let's have a look and see how all that came together. Let's play the game. Let's play 3D Wall. Right, quick mouthful of tea. Okay, I'm going to run the program now for real, and we'll play through a level. Just been reviewing some of my footage I captured just now. For some reason, my video capture is not picking up the sharpness of the screen when I run the game. Something to do with the green and the black it's not too happy with. So if that appears a little bit blurred, I do apologise. I have reset everything and it doesn't seem to have made any difference. So we're going to have to go with what we got, I'm afraid. So apologies in advance. Don't know what's doing it because everything else is perfectly fine and sharp. Just the game footage is a bit weird. Right. Anyway, I'm going to press F1 and here we go. So instructions, use S to pause, O to go left, P to go right. Build the ball down to the bottom of the screen where you will start another from the top, but beware, do not bump into the sides of the screen or the walls or poles, otherwise the game will end. Blah, blah, blah. Press a key to start. Are we ready? Let's go. Okay, so I'm ready with my O and P. Turn that sound down a bit, can be a little bit annoying, but here we go. We are moving, we are building a wall. yes. Can I make it? I'm not sure I'm going to make this. Oh, look at that. Home straight, check it out. We hit the red line at the bottom, it clears the screen, it's showing us our level. We're going to go on to level 2, our score is 323. How far do we want to build to the next wall? So I want to go 150, and when I press enter, it's going to rebuild the screen. Not sure whether I'll keep this, might change the program so it is more like the Spectrum version, but this is kind of fun and it works. So let me crash into something. There we go. Hard luck, you hit the side, press C again. Actually, I hit a wall, but that is from the Spectrum version, which I don't think that collision detection was quite right. So press C, we go back to our start screen. Now we're going to start from scratch. Here we go again. I'll show you the pause working. Let it build. Here we go. Go down. So if I press S, game paused. You see it actually says game pause down the bottom here. Then I press S again. Oh, that did nudge that. The collision detection is strange. It only works on the point from which it draws the line of the wall. So it's only working on the top part of that line, not the whole thing. For a future version of this game, we'll use sprites or bobs and we'll put proper collision detection in. But for now, this kind of works. Anyway, here we go. This is it. 3D wall. It's working. We've got, turn the sound on. We've got all the features of the Spectrum version, a little bit of modification. I'm not going to make this. Oh, we might go down here. You know, I'm happy. You know, the goal was to convert this to AMOS. And here we have a version which is, you know, fairly similar, and I'm going to take this as a win. Haha, look at that. So, all good. Right, so I have a bit of an appeal about the writer of this program. This program in October 1984 had been submitted by a young lad called Philip Laughlin, who was 13 at the time. So I think I said earlier that would make him 56. It doesn't. It makes him either 53 or 54-ish now, as of the time of this video, which is December 23. So Philip was based in Rotherham in South Yorkshire. Philip, if you are watching this, or if anybody knows who Philip Laughlin is, please can you reach out, get in touch with me. I would love to talk to Philip about this. Or if anyone knows what happened to him, if someone can let me know, it would be great if we could expand on this or get a bit of history about it. Anything, Philip, I would love to hear from you, or if anyone knows him, get in touch and let me know. That would be absolutely superb. Thank you ever so much in advance. And that is it for another video. Thank you ever so much for watching. This has been a lot of fun. Not perfect, but a lot of fun. We took a program from the ZX Spectrum, coded in Spectrum Basic, coded for a 16K ZX Spectrum, and have converted it over to run on AMOS Professional on an Amiga. Our next step's probably going to be to expand on this. What I want to do is start to introduce some sprites, make the screen estate bigger, turn this into a proper AMOS game. But that is, as I said, going to be a future video, so watch this space. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. I do a number of AMOS-y type videos. There's a playlist you can go and check out, see what I've done previously. I'm on the socials. There's probably a list scrolling up the screen now. I also have my website. Don't forget, you can go there to download the code for this program. You should be able to get the Spectrum code and the AMOS code. Check it out, have some fun with it yourself and have a play around, see what you can do, and let me know if you come up with something different. Thanks once again for watching. I really appreciate your time in doing so. I appreciate your support, all the people who support my channel. Thank you ever so much to each and every one of you. And until the next video, whatever you do, keep it retro.